Welcome back. Now, the exchange rate pressure has continued to hurt staple food prices in Nigeria, coupled with fuel scarcity and hike in transportation fares. Now, let's bring in a research analyst from financial derivatives company Adeshola Sumoni to talk to us through the situation with domestic commodities prices. Thank you for joining us, Adeshola. Hello, Adeshola, are you hearing me? Thank you for joining us. Well, if you're hearing me, Adeshola, we can see the Naira weakness feeding into domestic commodities prices levels. Can you talk us through the prices of some of the staple food? What's happening to them now?
Okay, so we are experiencing an upward trend in the price of domestic commodities in Nigeria today. For instance, the loaf of bread that was 220 Naira in January is now 270 Naira. The 50 kg bag of rice that was 8,500 Naira in January is now 13,500. The box of noodles that was 1,300 is now 1,300. Even 17 Naira is now 150 Naira. So we see this forex weakness feeding into domestic prices and shooting prices.
Now, Adeshola, should we expect some form of consumer resistance that would actually bring down the prices?
Well, let me say that if consumer disposable income is not increasing, or at least it's not increasing as much as fast as prices are, so we expect that consumers begin to substitute goods. They will begin to look for cheaper alternatives for the commodities the country consume. So, but I do not think that the consumer resistance will bring about falling price, because if the price increase first because of substitution, if that changes, that fundamental changes, I don't think that price.
Now, aside from the issue of the exchange rate, we have seen fuel scarcity come back. Has it had much impact on prices of food too?
Well, no, because I did not even notice that there was any fuel scarcity until the weekend, where I was in the queue for about 3 hours and I did not get any fuel at the end of the day. So I don't think it's going to affect consumer prices, at least for now, only because it's just still quite recent, so it's too early to begin to affect consumer prices. But if it persists for maybe to the end of March, then we can expect to see an uptick in commodity prices.
Now, Adeshola, what's actually causing this fuel scarcity, and when do we expect it to end?
Let me say this. The fuel marketers, oil marketers, are complaining that they are not able to access forex, although it is on the priority list for importation of fuel, but the scarcity of FX is affecting that. And also, NNPC has not been importing as much fuel as they used to, so there's an increased demand with this limited supply. That's why we are seeing these queues all around Lagos, Abuja, Port Harcourt, and around the country.
All right.
Then, so, as for when it's expected to end, I do not know. I mean, the NNPC has come out to say that they are increasing truck outs to Lagos and the environs from about 245 trucks per day to about 295, and also for in Abuja regions as well, from about 160 trucks per day to about 210 trucks per day. So we expect maybe next week, by the end of this week, hopefully, or next week, we expect that at least the situation should be better, because it's affecting all Nigerians.
Let's hope so. So with this trend we're seeing now, what should we expect for February inflation rate?
February inflation rates, well, we expect inflation rates to trend upwards. We project that it will get to about 9.8%, because since the mid-February, prices has been increasing, and this increase was not fleeting. It seems to be consistent and persistent. So we expect the inflation figures for February to increase.
Okay. Now let's look at global agricultural commodities market. What is driving the prices there?
Okay, first of all, for the oil market, we've seen a rally. The oil market, the prices of oil are now stable at about $35 per barrel, and that was driven by the speculation that OPEC and non-OPEC members are now beginning to feel the effect of this lower price, so they are coming together to, at least they're having talks. We don't know whether or not there's going to be a production freeze or a production cuts. But the fact that they are having talks, they have a common interest to stabilize the price, even proper prices. So that's what's driving the sentiment in the oil market. Now for the soft commodities, cocoa and sugar, for the sugar, unfavorable weather conditions in India, the grain regions in India, droughts that has happened for 2 years consecutively is affecting sugarcane growers, and that is reducing the supply of sugarcane to produce sugar, and that is why the price of sugar is going up. And for cocoa, the harmattan in the grain regions in Ghana, Ivory Coast is also affecting the cocoa. In fact, the International Cocoa Organization projects a deficit of about, I think, 113 metric tons in this 2016 grain period. So that's that.
So, what is the outlook like?
Well, for the oil prices, we expect that the talks will continue and they would reach a decision to at least freeze production, and that we'll expect would proper price a little bit. For the soft commodities, we expect also prices to keep going up because of, except there's a change in the weather conditions or government policy that would maybe affect irrigation that can now increase the crop production. Then for the corn and wheat, well, I think that the prices will continue to trend upwards because they've been trending upwards since last week, 2 weeks ago. They've been trending upwards. We expect that to keep trending upwards.
All right, thank you very much, Adeshola, for your time.
Thank you for having me.
Adeshola Sumoni, research analyst at Financial Derivatives Company. Well, in Ivory Coast, that country is cashing in on cashew nuts. Over the past 10 years, the country increased its production by 400% and recently overtook India as the world's top cashew nut producer. But the sector remains challenged by the lack of domestic processing capacity, which impacts its revenues. VOA Channels TV correspondent Emily Ob reports from Abidjan.
The harvest has just started, but the mood is good among cashew farmers in Ivory Coast. This year again, the government announced an increase in the minimum selling prices. Raymond Kouakou, a former real estate agent, started planting cashew trees in his home village back in 1999.
My friend told me that cashew production could put food on the table. He encouraged me to start.
But the development of the budding industry was put on hold until 2011 as the West African nation endured multiple political crises. Now the sector is growing again thanks to increasing global demand. National production almost doubled in the last 5 years alone to reach 25% of the global output, making Ivory Coast the world's top producer ahead of India and Vietnam. The government played a major role in developing and regulating the sector by setting control and minimum prices through the same group that also regulates cotton production. Producer and buyer Aruna Konate says it helped a lot.
Borders were very porous. Our product would go to the neighboring countries. And there were also a lot of speculation because we didn't really know what was the global market price for cashew. But now, thanks to Cotton Cashew Council, it's all right.
However, Ivory Coast only processes about 6% of its total cashew production. The nuts are sent to Asia to be processed, then sold to consumers in the US and in Europe. For Cotton Cashew Council Director Malamine Sanogo, increasing domestic processing is the next key step to developing the industry.
We believe that if we domestically process the cashew, we should be able to increase the farm gate prices by 80% if I compare to other countries.
Sanogo says the Ivorian government plans to domestically process all of its cashew production by 2020. Emilie Yop for VOA News in Abidjan.
When we come back after the break, we will move to FMDQ OTC for the intraday debt market update. To stay with us.